Jalen Jackson, local high school product, spent 1 year in Chicago, decided he wanted to be at home. And last year turned out to be a very good decision because he was one of the keys on the Dons team that went all the way to the championship of the postseason tournament last year, the College Insider tournament. So we've got a lot to talk about: roster, schedule, and more. And to start it off, we welcome to the program the head coach of the Newport Wayne Mastodons, John Kaufman. Good to see you again, Coach.
Statman, good to see you as well.
All right, so let's talk first about the offseason a little bit. And, of course, the offseason in college basketball now used to be just recruiting, build a schedule, and start working with players. Now you've got players for more of an extended period during the summer. You still have the events that you have to keep up with, but also the transfer portal has changed the landscape of college basketball. Last year, you really didn't have a lot of transfers, a couple of them, but this year it seems like you had another good year with the transfer portal, bringing in some key people and key faces. What was that process like?
Well, honestly, if you look back at it, I mean, it's the year 26, 14 in Fort Wayne, number 11 that I've been in Fort Wayne, and really there's changes every single year, and the only real difference that I've felt is the immediate eligibility of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
We've had transfer. I mean, you look back at some of our best players that we've had. I mean, Bryson Scott scored almost 1,300 points in 2 years as a transfer. Max Landis, Player of the Year back in 2016 when we won the league. He was a transfer, and so the shifts that have happened is that immediate eligibility, and we saw that last year. Obviously Jalen, is going to be on the show with us today. But then you also have Rasheed Bello. You had Quentin Morton Robertson, who had redshirted the year before after transferring in. That won the Horizon League in 22. It was amazing with those guys is how quickly they gelled. And the summer development was a huge part of that impact. And that's how the game has really, really changed. I mean, I remember back in the day, we'd start practice October 15th. The only thing we were allowed to do in the summer was guys were allowed to work out with your strength coach and play pickup and work camps. And that's really changed over the last decade. And we've taken advantage of that. And I think that's where we've won basketball games, that off season, from April through September. And that core 8 to 10 weeks that our guys are here in the summer has been a huge key to it. And so as we look at last spring, and you said it in the intro, I mean, we got 7 of our top 8 returning scores, returning off a 23-win team that was a young team last year. And the one is that we lose is Anthony Roberts, who will be our 24th professional player during my tenure.
And he graduated.
He graduated. Yeah,
he didn't transfer. He graduated.
No, he graduated. And so that's really, really exciting. And so I really believe that caring for and sort of that summer crazy that we do. The Camp Kaufman. You'll get to talk to Jalen.
Yeah, he just rolled his eyes when you mentioned Camp Crazy.
No, but it's a fun. I mean, the guys, and there's always going to be some things that they may not enjoy. Like, and he did not get to do ballroom dancing. We do that every other year. So in year 2, he'll get summer 2. He'll get that ballroom dancing next year. But as we go through that, the key is getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And we try to create shared experiences with returners and newcomers so that now they're connected. They faced adversity. They have some jokes. They get to make fun of Coach Kaufman. Some of those things, he's making us do this. But then also just they get to work together. There's leadership programming. There's life skills programming. There's a ton of basketball. And probably a highlight with our community service this summer. Wednesday and Friday, we had 3 players at each of the two centers, spending time with the young people. It was absolutely awesome.
When you go out and find somebody in the transfer portal, what is it that you're looking for first? Because relationships are so important. Chemistry is so important. People who play the style you need them to play is important. So how do you find that all out in such a brief period, especially with some guys that may have heavy competition?
Well, I think the first piece is how do they fit with our returning players, and how's the chemistry piece going to, because you don't have as much time to mesh them and to grow them. You look at Mason Shrout, who came in this year as a freshman. I mean, there was 2 years of recruiting going in. We've been a part of his evolution as a player, as a young man. We've watched him grow. He comes in here with his first college experience, and we get to develop him that way. That's really exciting, and those are not necessarily easier, but in terms of the culture and the fit, probably a touch easier. I mean, Eric Mulder's a great example of that. Came into the program as a freshman, and how's his development coming through, and then how do we mesh those with the returning players? Jalen Jackson is another great example. Now, he's one that we've known. I mean, since he was little, watching him play, at Carroll and then Northrop, and his mom having played, volleyball and basketball at IPFW, and grandfather being part of the faculty. So that's one that we knew really well. But again, his development, I mean, I didn't necessarily know where his development was. And, he had showcased himself at the Division I level at UIC. And it wasn't until he got involved in that summer that we recognized kind of who he was, where we really needed to develop him, where his fit was going to be. And so, as I use him kind of talking about this year's class, I mean, he was a player that, I knew growing up was elite getting to the paint. I mean, as good as anybody I've ever seen. I mean, reminds me of, Frank Gaines. It reminds me of Bryson Scott. I mean, those players that don't need a ball screen, they just need the ball in their hands and maybe a short closeout to be able to get in the paint. That's who Jalen was coming in. Now, Jalen went from shooting low 40s at UIC and low 30s from three at UIC, and had a nice freshman year. I mean, 7.3 points. That's a phenomenal freshman year, playing about 20 minutes a game, to playing, in the mid 30s, averaging 16 points a game, ends up being our leading scorer, and shoots over 50% from the floor and over 40% from three.
Yeah, it's kind of like you gave those numbers of field goal shooting, 3-point shooting, and scoring per game. And if you just add 10 to all three of them, you've got Jalen Jackson from last year.
No doubt. Part of the benefit of coaching the way we coach, certain skill sets that work out in our program, is that we know that their efficiencies are going to go up. Now, what helped with Jalen and how it was such a huge rise in 1 year is, first off, he loves Fort Wayne. I mean, the guy's been walking around like his cheeks are tired. He just walks around with a smile all. Honestly, you're like, come on, do you want to pinch him? Like, he loves Fort Wayne. He loves being back here. He loves being around family. And he likes walking around town and people know him and he knows them. And,
well, I'm sure being on the show today, it's like a bucket list for Jalen.
Exactly.
Check this one right off the top of the bucket list.
Well, I mean, but whatever we ask of him, he loves doing it. And it's funny. So he ran his own camp the other day at OPS, and they had asked him, "Hey, will you run a camp for us?" And the Jalen Jackson basketball camp, and he goes through the whole thing, and they and that's one of our partners. And they're like, "Hey, can we write you a check? What do we want to do?" And he says, "No, you're a partner. You give us so much. I don't need a check. I don't need the money. I mean, that's cool. That's just a commitment to our city and the people that support us." Now I am
future Mastodons and future Mastodon fans.
I am going to twist his arm and be like, "Hey, you got to take that check." So, those things are nice. Hey, and you know what? Hey, we'll talk about this today. This is an interesting fact for me. And maybe we'll start a fund, a GoFundMe, or maybe Jalen, you can ask OPS if they can write this check. I found out, and I was making fun of Brett Rump, Statman, and then he tells me he leaks out the other day that he doesn't actually have a mattress in his apartment. He's like, when my wife moved to Florida, she took the bed, and I was like, that's been like 9 years ago, 8 years ago. And he said
it was a step up for me to get an air mattress. I had a couch my first 3 months.
And you've remained in that. And
I still have the air mattress.
it's that makes me question you a little bit. You're always kind of on the go. You have one eye looking at the next best thing. I think. Like are you trying to move up the line? Are you gonna leave the Mastodons?
I have absolutely no one that ever comes over. So you know that.
Well, I
me.
know that.
I have nobody to come see me.
But you go on the road with us and you complain about your back all the time.
Well, that's because I'm in an air mattress.
Well,
I mean, facts are facts.
I
But
mean,
doesn't motivate
honestly,
me to change it.
No, man, making fun of you, Statman, gets me really off topic, and that could be a show in itself.
No, it's
but going back to jail.
Yeah,
we'll dive. Yeah, let's don't digress into Brett Rump.
Yeah.
So as we're talking, as we're talking Jalen Jackson, I just it's exactly what we're looking for. It's a guy that has a skill set that fits what we're doing. Somebody who's going to fit into our culture, and some of the crazy that we do in the off season is going to embrace it and enjoy it. And then, is going to live in the gym. And that's the piece that I left out. Like all stuff, it's not the system. I mean, the system is good for Jalen, and we identify that, and we know what works. But Jalen has worked his living tail off to get better. And that's the other piece, gym rats. So we're looking for that fit. We're looking for that skill set. We're looking for the cultural piece, and we're looking for gym rats. And Jalen fit every one of those. And so, we're targeting that with transfers. Now, this year, as we kind of move into this year's transfers, I will share with you, this is the first year that we've ever taken a 1-year transfer. And that's, with Chandler Cutthroat. And we looked at our roster. Obviously, didn't anticipate having a 6'4" man out of that. We don't call it
legitimately played 6'6", 6'7". I mean, when you say 6'4",
I could guard 5 positions.
He guarded post players at times, and back in the postseason against Bowling Green, he was guarding their biggest post.
No doubt. I mean, that didn't stress us. After a year in our program, we recognized that was his versatility, and he weighed 220, and he could touch the top of the backboard. I mean, he was really physical, and so that's a huge loss, and so as we were looking for depth, we knew that rebound rate was going to be huge. We needed to find somebody who could rebound, because when you play 4 guards like we do, you got to have guards that rebound. I mean, Jalen Jackson rebounds, love it, and that also leads your break really early. You want to play fast? I mean, we're number 16 in scoring over the last decade. Okay, to play fast, you got to be able to defend, get stops, but you got to rebound the basketball, and so that's where with Chandler we're looking for a rebounding rate, and we're looking for value as well. And so as we were hunting for value, we played at UTSA, and unfortunately their staff got let go, and he was looking for something new there. So it wasn't, necessarily looking for better. I mean, it's just as unique. I mean, the coach he signed up with was not there, and so he was looking for something different with that. But came off the bench, and so we were able to dive in analytically and see when he was on the floor how good he was rebounding. Also, skill set, shoots the basketball. Big and physical, and then
that's
gets on
something
campus.
You almost require from everybody you recruit.
No, we do. We absolutely do, and that's where assistants will come to me, particularly when they first arrive, and they'll be like, "Hey, this went out in July, went to EYBL, like Jalen, they're all really good there, and the Nike circuit, whatever it might be, and hey, this guy's good, really good player." And I say, "Hey, how's he shoot it from 3?" And like, and they start to fumble a little bit, and I say, "Well, he's going to be a good player for somebody else." And that's where understanding what fit is critical, and that's where I have a confidence in what we've been doing. I mean, we've there's only one team that's won more games than us over the last decade in the Horizon League. And as you look at the Missouri Valley, the MAC, the Summit, and the Horizon, there's only 6 Midwest teams out of those groups that have won more than us over the last decade, and we've done that with our style of play and finding the fit.
Got to talk to Jalen himself. Jalen Jackson joining us. Jalen, last year had your first year in Fort Wayne. Describe the experience. Did you get what you expected? Was it better than expected? What was your experience like coming home and playing for the Mastodons?
I'd definitely say it's probably better than I expected. You kind of come into like a new situation. You don't know what you expect because you're looking for something different. So like transferring, I was just kind of looking for something different, more for me, and like the buy-in that the coaches had in me, just every day pushed me to be the best player I can. Whether that's challenging me on the court or off the court, just like making me into a better human being. And I feel like with that, then you can also like just become better with everything you do, like just with the mindset aspect of it all, just being around a group of coaches who care about you, not only on the basketball court, but off the court, it's kind of something that I was just like community and the culture wise. I was just kind of something I was trying to look for, and I found that here, and then it just like always made me just like a happy guy, always trying to put smiles on people's faces, and then just go out on the court. And
How much fun is the style? Because it's I mean, a lot of teams will say they want to play fast, but they don't necessarily execute at the tempo and the transition pace that the Mastodons do. What was the style like?
It's fast paced. Like you get stops, you get to go out and transition, and that's kind of where I'm really good at being in transition. Like I can get past the guy at a very like 2-3 dribbles,
Or just bowl him out of the way. One way or the other.
One of the two. Just working on that. It definitely fits into that. And then I knew like coming here, like the biggest part for me was shooting, because I didn't ever get that opportunity to just be able to shoot, and like coming here, that's like something I worked on, and the coaches like invested in me like every day to work on that. And when you put the work in, good things happen.
When recruits come to town, I'm sure you're one of the guys that gets a chance to talk to so many of them. What do you tell them about this program that you feel makes it unique and makes it a welcoming environment for someone to consider?
The first thing I always tell them is first I always just show praise to the coaches, just because that's like what I've experienced, and it's like I've witnessed it not just with me but with other players. Like when the coaches say they mean and like care about you, they actually like mean that, and they go above and beyond for that. And I feel like that's what people should look for when they go to school, because you're away from home for a lot of people.
It's a new family.
Yeah, new family, and like you really feel that here when you come here.
Jalen Jackson joining us. So what have you been working on? Everybody I think has goals of what they want to do to improve, maybe personally, maybe as a team. But what's your summer been like?
Lifting and shooting every day, basically just staying in the gym, just trying to be more consistent with all my mechanics and stuff, and working on my body, working on the conditioning, all that type of stuff.
You were the new guy last year coming into a new program, but now you've got experience in the program, you've got success in that program. You've got to be considered, I would say, one of the leaders of this program right now. What has that transition been like for you?
I was challenged with in the off season by all the coaches. They told me I need to be a better leader, more vocal, because like I can lead by example and by voice, because we've been through the tough situations last year throughout the season, and like I know what it takes, and they trust me with that. So just learning how to like get the best out of everybody. If someone messes up, just telling them, hey man, you got this, like you good, next play, just stuff like that, like challenging me to be that guy on the team where to raise everybody else's level so that we can be at our best.
Well, and the part I'll jump in there, and where he's been elite since he stepped on campus was obviously I made the joke about him smiling until he got on the mic. He got tough guy look over there on the mic with you, but he smiled since the day he got into our program, and I think a lot of that happened in the summer with our our life skills programming and our connection stuff we did, and our leadership program, just enjoying us investing beyond just the basketball side. But from a basketball standpoint, where he led last year is he's an everyday guy. Like he shows up ready to have fun and enjoy the process and dominate the process. And he also it's a situation where we can snap him into go mode. And he's such a team player and so engaged with our coaching staff. Doors closed with one of the assistants, and we never have our doors closed. And I'll look in there, and there's Jalen just shooting the breeze, and they probably closed it because he's laughing and goofing around so loudly. They want to distract everybody else. It's not just one coach; like he doesn't play favorites. He's with every coach, making those relationships, and that's where he brings out the joy with the rest of the guys. Being an everyday guy. All the shooting and lifting and stuff, and those are things that he's been really, really good at and continuing to get good at. What I challenged him with is that first off, he got uber efficient this last year. I mean, 50-40 guy. That's how, that's when the next level starts really eyeballing you, when you're that guy. That really helps you to win. And some of that's process driven with us, but then the other part's that hard work. But now we're looking to stack volume on that offensively. How do we stack volume on top of the efficiency? No one wants to be a volume player unless it's volume on top of efficiency. The other piece is like we got to get better defensively. As we add a little bit more depth, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to, we can maybe even shrink a minute or two, which, he's going to look at me cross-eyed right now. But when he sees his stats and how his efficiency is, they're able to, continue to grow there. That may actually help. No, I don't target, getting him down low minutes at all. But I do think, that's an area where he didn't come off the floor much last year. And so being able to raise his level of defense, and that focus, that helps that defense, that's going to be huge for him. And for us, we lost, Anthony Roberts, and who was an elite, all defensive team player, and we got to replace that. What's been fun too is this summer, we've had a couple guys, injured, knocked up, or we give some guys some leniency to be able to dart home on the weekend, if they got family situation. And so as we're going through our practices in the summer, there were a day or two that we were short of kind of that big wing would be considered our fourth guard, our four-man, right? Jalen knows it all. Honestly, you don't even have to. I got it.
6'2", 4-man.
That's right. 6'2". That's
not a stretch.
Yeah. I got you. That's with the hair, though, right?
Yeah.
That's with
The
the
hair
hair.
is like 6'7".
Yeah, he's got special shoes.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got to get to a break. And before we do, want to check in with what's happening in the world of sports, because this is Adam's time to give us what's happening with today's top headlines. Adam Lundy, what's happening in the world of sports?
All right, thanks, Brett. Let's check in on what's happening with today's top headlines. It was announced earlier today by the official Twitter account of the Battle for Atlantis. Indiana basketball will face Louisville in the opening round at noon on November 27th. Depending on the outcome of that game, the Hoosiers will face either West Virginia or Gonzaga the following day. The WNBA returned after a break for the 2024 Paris Olympics last week, and the league continued its incredible wave of strong viewership. Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Sunday averaged 2.23 million viewers, the fifth largest audience for the league over the past 2+ decades. Ion also drew another strong audience on Friday night for the Fever's win over the Phoenix Mercury. 1.22 million viewers watched that game, Ion's second most watched game ever, behind the same matchup in July. One more story for you, Brett. The San Diego Padres, the parent club of the Fort Wayne Tin Caps, made a move to their minor leagues today, sending outfielder Joshua Mears up to Double-A San Antonio. Mears slashed .313, .324, and .537 in August, and is now getting a chance at the next level.
Why didn't they take him when he was batting 154? They have to wait till he's knocking it around at a 300 clip, and then they take him away from us.
That's how it goes.
Congratulations, Joshua Mears. Those are today's top headlines with Adam Lundy. Hey, before we get to break, got to tell you about Christopher J's Menswear, Chris Lambert and Company. You can stop out and see them in Covington Plaza, because right now they're saving you. Oh, you know what? Got to give you the big deal right now. The big deal of the day, 75% off spring and summer merchandise. That's right. It's 75% off spring and summer merchandise. Coach, I know you've got some nice looking threads with Christopher James Menswear.
Chris is not only really good at what he does in dressing Fort Wayne, but he's a phenomenal community member. He dresses our entire coaching staff. He donated 2 years ago, started donating graduation suits to our seniors. They get custom suits with their names inside. It's awesome. And then this last spring, did an NIL deal with our guys, and so ended up giving dress casual stuff. So when they go to different social events and with their community mentors, networking events, they look stylish there. And then last year, casino night, put them all in tuxes last year. So Chris is the absolute best.
Great guy. We find him on the road every once in a while, and he even put on the headsets once with me on the road and was, quote, my color guy. Did you know about that?
I did not know about that.
Yeah, he didn't have a ticket. He didn't.
So we had to get.
I'm telling a real story.
So we had to get him in on a pass.
So we brought him in and told him that he was the color guy for radio. So during the game, he sat with me and wore headsets, and I made sure his mic never got turned on. But
he is very
So he now
colorful in his
considers-
talk, so that is
he
good.
considers himself part of the radio crew at Purdue Fort Wayne. Yeah.
We have high standards in that radio crew, don't
Yeah.
we?
Yeah. It was we have no
Adam, are you
standards.
laughing?
For 11 years we've had no standards. But anyway, Christopher J's Menswear, 75% off. Make sure you get in there and look them up. It's spring and summer merchandise. Got to go before the fall arrivals, and they're coming in daily. Christopher J's Menswear. They're in Covington Plaza on West Jefferson, just one block west of Getz. Okay, we're
Behind.
14 minutes behind. 45-minute podcast. I got
I know our
keep,
schedule stuff. This is better than schedule stuff, particularly since we can't do the Notre Dame announcement. Let's try and get.
Oh, hey, let's. We're on YouTube. So
can't say anything. That
There's only one person
about
watching.
On YouTube, like, oh, this.
There's only,
You should tell me that ahead of time.
Yeah, no, a little late now.
God,
There's only one
is there
person.
any?
okay.
there's only one.
Okay.
Well, what?
There's only one person.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's, they probably posted that too.
We
Yeah.
might have
I
to,
gotta know that.
that's important.
We're not getting a whole lot of push on our videos yet because we just started our YouTube channel.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
We
You
used to
take
face-
That's to me calling you a face for radio. See,
Yeah.
challenging you.
we weren't on.
Look,
that.
we got one viewer.
We weren't on. It's probably Lambert. He's probably like, I gotta watch these guys.
It's Jalen's mom.
See if anybody's wearing the Lambert today, I mean, he can make me look good. He's married.
What I mean, the good thing about me is you hang out with me long enough, and I lose all. There are no secrets with me.
Yeah.
You mouthing behind the video screen that we shouldn't announce the big game. That's coming October 3rd. We won't do that.
We won't
Yeah.
do that.
We won't mention that.
With zero
Who the heck is
copay,
it? Oh,
no
it's
expensive
Jamie.
appointments, and no awkward face-to-face
Oh,
conversations.
he's probably
To
bringing
start
my
your
gear
free
back.
online visit,
Oh, was he messing with it?
exclusive
Yeah.
address, hims.com/radio.
Hey, so this mic
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
not great.
Right. I think we're having the issue where you have it with your headphones in that port. Do you know how you have to wiggle it? Or you not?
Because that's where I don't. This
Oh.
doesn't sound very loud. You
Right.
guys are all
You're-
looking at
yeah,
me.
no, you're
Well,
I
I
felt
can,
very
I can,
self-conscious
I can,
about it.
well, you were talking real quiet, and I'm like, he's never that quiet. So I turned your headphones down because usually that makes people talk loud.
Yeah, I mean, I sound really quiet right here. Yeah, no, but I can't hear myself. The louder you say that, I can't hear it.
His mic is turned up louder than mine
His levels are fine. I think it's just how you have
because
to
it does
wiggle
sound quieter than me, and his
Yeah, I
sounds are
can't.
quieter than me.
I can't hear now. You got to turn that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't
I
have it
can't-
on.
I
We don't
can't
have it on
tell.
right now.
But what's not on? You can only hear it when you're on. Welcome back to the Sports Rush, your daily local sports fix, 4 to 6. It is Purdue Fort Wayne men's basketball schedule release day. And of course, we got to get to the schedule. And Coach Kaufman joining us here in the studio along with Jalen Jackson. And Coach, one of the things that's become an annual tradition is before the season even gets started, it's a great chance for fans to come out, get a chance to interact with players. You talk about the networking and the opportunity to engage with the community. Nothing has done it better over the last few years, perhaps, than casino night, and that's back on the schedule.
We're cranking out this week. I mean, our guys went home for 3 weeks, which is phenomenal. We all kind of get re-energized coming into it after 8 to 10 weeks in the summer training, and so that's where we get heavy in terms of all that organization. A big part of that is chasing down different auction items or chasing down our different sponsors and kind of brainstorming of how we can make casino night better. And I was joking with somebody the other day. It was like 10 years ago when we started our casino night. We had 75 people in Fort Wayne Country Club, and my athletic director bought every auction item. We made $15,000. And she wrote us a big check for $1,250 off of that. And now it's grown to where last year we had 500 people. And people even threatening, hey, you've outgrown the facility, and that is not the case. We spread out and we maximized our usage last year, and I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. We have Sinatra style band, Judge Heath. has been doing this for a decade with us now. The 360, one of those photo booth games, we keep jazzing that up as well. We have casino games, from all across the facility, and we've gone back. I know you're going to be happy. We got both roulette and craps back again, 2 tables of each, and then auction items that are on steroids. I mean, from all those sports experiences from my friends dating back from high school to college to 26 years of college coaching. A lot of people get out to where, I'm just really excited about, how that and all the relationships that have built that into a premier fundraising / fan raising event. And it's November 2nd, first Saturday in November 2nd. Again, this year, Fort Wayne Country.
Teams like Michigan and DePaul, which of course we remember the big win to start the season last year in Chicago. This year it starts at Gates, and you'll take on one of your 2 non-D1 opponents. You'll have Bluffton on the schedule, and I know Bluffton means something kind of personal to you.
Well, yeah, it was funny as I was walking out. Somebody had mentioned, "Hey, we play Bluffton in what was that in I think it was 22,
yeah,
22, and that was win 143, and that ended up I became the winningest head coach, not just Division I head coach, but a head coach overall that year on that game. But no, it's impactful in terms of playing a game. Now when we announce game 2, it'll be a road trip and Power 4 game, and so it's one of those like trying to get a balance. It's so critical that early on your season you figure out that balance of road games, home games, and being able to get in that winning vibe early on.
Well, and when you go through the process of the schedule real quick, how does that process work? I mean, are there certain games, do you have to go immediately and start knocking on the doors of all the power conference teams and try to get on their schedule wherever they can play you, and you build around that? Do you have to honor contracts that are currently putting a schedule together? Go.
Well, and it's probably the one place that has less integrity than recruiting is going to be the scheduling. And I tell my players all the time. I said, "Hey,
you need to explain yourself.
My door is always open. All right." Except for when I'm talking scheduling, because I'm trying to tell people we aren't going to be very good, and so they got to knock on the door. So I'm lying between.
And you're talking about the big teams.
Yeah, no, I'm just jesting. No, in terms of the schedule, that it's a very complex puzzle that you're trying to figure out dates, opponents, and then now the piece that's even trickier is the net.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're into, I can't remember, year 3, 4, 5 of the net. And they don't announce what the formula is, but if you do anything long enough, you can start cranking the analytics for it, and you start figuring patterns. You see the patterns. And so what has made this extremely challenging this last season is that we won 23 games last year, coming off of a young roster, and we returned 7 of our top 8. And I think our net last year as we finished out the year, I mean, we were as high as 58 on the first net ranking last year, coming off of our non-league play. We ended up finishing, I think it was at like 151, 152, somewhere in that mid-range of 362 schools, and that's no man's land. And as the net plays
when it comes to schedule,
when it comes into scheduling,
I mean, it's very respectable as far as mid.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
But when you go to schedule, that's one of the places you probably don't want to end up, because you're not good enough to get a big boost of the net, and you're not bad enough for somebody to beat up.
Well, and so you have 4 quads as you go through that. All right, and so we knew it was going to be bad this year when immediately I said, okay, we're in no man's land with our net and returning all these players. And we called UConn and said, will you schedule us? And they said, no.
Wait. What were you on?
Huh?
You were calling UConn?
We got to fight. Well, we got to match budgets. And, our league, like we have an analytics consultant with our league. I mean, as we try and project and get the highest seed we can in the tournament, we have certain requirements within our league, depending on where our league kind of projects us being. And so there's requirements there. Now, as you said before, there are a lot of contracts where you're going to see some similar teams this year on
on our schedule because you have 2 and 3 year contracts. And we got a couple, 2-for-1s. We got a couple, single guarantee games, but it's more those years that, all right, you're in year 2 of a home and home, that they're going to be coming back. And maybe you have to push it because you can't find the dates. But as we're going through what I knew we were in trouble, UConn wouldn't play us, And I mean, you watch the national championship game, everybody in our state watch that game. They're really, really good. Okay. And they've been really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's where we knew it was going to be a challenge because the analytics say go play a quad 4. Quad 4 is going to be a net 240, all right, at their place if that's a road game, all right, but going into 300s if it's going to be a home game. So if you're a Power 5 paying a guarantee, you need to be in the 300s. And really, your goal is to get the most winnable because they get points. You get points. We get points on, a 30-point win against a quad 4. But a quad 4 loss crushes you.
Yeah.
So you don't want to play that. And then you move into where we end up being like projected as a quad 3 if we're on the road, but a quad 2 if they're playing at our place. And so trying to find some neutral site games to where we'd be a borderline quad 2 game, that was kind of our niche we were hunting, which is really, really hard to do. But, it was crazy. It was really, really late when we found our Power 4s to play us because nobody wanted to. I sweated it out this summer.
I think Coach Blaylock was sweating it out one day when I stopped by Gates. By the way,
I was sweating it out because he had a vacation, had plane tickets, and I told him sort of in
no
jest, not really.
until that
I
game
said
gets
no
scheduled.
vacation. I tell you, he had a couple good leads. We had to give him to finish the deal.
Well, I think it needs to be a T-shirt that we're so good UConn wouldn't play us. I think that needs to be the new shirt. All right, let's talk about the schedule. Bluffton opens it up at home at the Gates Center on Monday, November 4th, and by the end of the week, you were alluding to it. This is a game that you would have played it as an opener, but date that was available for both squads ended up being on Friday. And so you're heading down to Florida, first of 2 trips to Florida. We'll tease that. This one to Orlando to take on Central Florida.
No, and that was the first Power 4 game that we were able to schedule. And so, we were targeting a season opener. That tends to be, that date that we can really find a marquee game. And we were very lucky to get a game, particularly one that, we like to take great trips. I mean, going to Orlando. I just had a donor. He donated his timeshare in Orlando along with some Disney tickets so that we could auction that off to go down and watch us on the 8th play.
Fan trip.
Fan trip. Yeah, on Friday the 8th, November 8th. And play UCF. The other cool part about that, the history behind that, as Bluffton was when I became the winningest head coach, UCF reminds me of when I became the luckiest man on earth. What little trivia? What's the relevance there?
Well, I do know that you became the luckiest man on earth when you were spending time down in Stetson. But I don't know what the connection is to UCF other than the fact that regionally they're close by.
So my wife coached it at UCF.
And so I did not realize
we met at Stetson, and she. So when UCF went from Atlantic Sun in our league at Stetson, they advanced to Conference USA. Year 3 in her tenure there, from worst to first. Wow. Won the league. They were ranked top 25. Actually went to the Super Regionals, and they were they beat USF. South Florida in the Super Regionals. They beat Georgia Tech. They lost to Florida, who's number 1 in the country, beat Florida second time around with her pitcher in America, and then lost in the championship to go to the World Series.
The best recruiting job you've ever done.
Best recruiting job.
Yeah.
The best coach in the family as well. Pretty cool for her. She's going to make that trip too. Go see her old stomping grounds.
Last year, Central Florida, 17 and 16, they were 7. One of the guys they do have returning is a guy that some fans in this area might be familiar with. Jalen Sellers had some time at Ball State, averaged 16 points per game, was their leading scorer a year ago, and they also returned their second leading scorer in Darius Johnson. Well, a team we got familiar with last year, of course, coached by former NBA star Reggie Theus. Bethune-Cookman will be at the Coliseum then when the Dons return from Central Florida, and that game will be on November 12th.
No, it's great, and that's one of those unique scheduling as we put things together. I got, a contract where we have a 2-for-1, so we got 2 games at home, and then we return to their place next year down to Daytona. You get down to Daytona again.
Well, I'm thinking you could have just had a 2-week vacation because we'll talk about what is ahead, but there'll be another trip down to Florida not long into the future here. Road game as the shoe game.
I love telling the shoe story. And so, obviously, and this is now going to be the only shoe block ever because the Referees Association they've addressed it. All right. And there was a big enough emphasis because the video went viral and it was on Sports Center. Here it's a situation where Rashid, who with his insoles, with his ankle braces, and with our shoes, they didn't really flow well together in this thing. And I think if you tie them tight enough, we could solve that. All right. But
that's not the way they were.
I guess not. Well, anyway, it happened multiple times before this game where his shoes came off and he kept playing. And this is where I literally had a meeting with him and addressed it and said, listen, the next time your shoe comes off during a game or a practice, I want you to sit down immediately. Like don't go chasing around. Sit down. Like the last thing we need is for you to get your toe stepped on, break a toe, break a foot. And it's
like hitting dodgeball. You're out.
You sit down and let's tie the shoe, get it back on. And I said, we will address change. We're not. Absolutely not. Well, he ignores me. And
picks it
picks it up. He was going to sit down, but after he gets a stop, and it has now become the mantra of like whatever it takes. And my one of my coaches, he's putting together the picture along with the whatever it takes slogan, which we use in our locker room all the time. And it was not like he tried to block the shot with the shoe. He just kept playing and goes up with a shoe, and it's the correct hand that we challenge shots with. We call it 11%. There's 11%, difference between a uncontested and a contested shot, and he 11%s it and gets the block.
And I was
and doesn't get called.
Yeah, I was immediately texting my referee friend who referees college basketball, and I said, "Okay, you got to explain this one too because I have no idea."
I'm calling bull. I'm calling bull, and the reason I know I'm calling bull is because you said friend.
Okay, a referee acquaintance that I have. Gotcha. And the rule in officiating is if you don't know, don't blow. And he said that's what they did. There's nothing that clearly stood out in the rules, so they didn't blow the whistle. Our Parkview Sports Medicine text line is 260-447-8500. Questions for Coach Kaufman or Jalen Jackson, who's here with us for a few more minutes. But we got the Bethune-Cookman and Southern Indiana homestand out of the way. And then it's on to the central part of Pennsylvania.
Let me back up a second, though, as we talk about that shoe again.
Okay.
For the shoe. And end up selling it. All right. But then the other player, I sold the second shoe for more. And the reason is I was able to sell them on the fact that the shoe that blocked it, got all the fame in the block. But the other shoe actually did more. It planted. And
shoe increased in value, though. That's important.
Now it's just that this was legal. Yeah. It is now the only shoe that ever will block a shoe and get away with it.
Okay, let's real quick talk about Central Pennsylvania because you've got a Big Ten opponent on the slate, and it is the Penn State Nittany Lions. Kind of interesting when you look at Penn State from a year ago. Very good home team, about a 500 club overall, but they've got a lot of talent that's returning from last year's squad.
Really good guard play and a really good coach. So I have history with Mike Rhodes, really good friend of mine. We both got our starts coaching in the ODAC, Division III league in Virginia. And he was an assistant coach coaching against me. That's why he scheduled the game. He has no respect. He has no respect for me. He saw me play. We've been really, really good friends for, close to 30 years. And so I don't like playing friends, but this is part of a tournament, part of Sunshine Slam. It's been announced. Don't
Right.
look at me like I'm releasing
No,
your information. It's been announced.
No, this is out there.
But I've never been there.
Never been to Penn State.
Nope.
Wow.
I've never been there. So that'll be an exciting game for me. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been. I don't know if I think I've been at every other Big Ten school. And that's one I've never played at.
I've actually been to Penn State, not been inside the basketball arena, so that'll be a first for me. But Penn State, what about you, Jalen? Did you have a chance to play at Penn State at all in your career?
Yeah, I haven't.
No. So it's a new environment, new chance, new opportunity at Penn State. That's November 20th, and then that leads right into the Sunshine Slam. Multiple opponents, mid-majors. The matchups will be announced by the Sunshine Slam, but we do know that Drexel, Radford, and Chicago State will be the three opponents in the bracket. And so it will be two games on the first day on November 25th, and then on 26th, winners play, losers play. A lot like what we've had the last couple of years with the Cancun Challenge and with the Arizona tournament. It's kind of the same type of format.
Same thing. And then you're going to have, the other schools, Penn State included, are going to be, playing in the event as well. So it's going to be great basketball as you go down to Daytona Beach. You got that Sanford Allegiant Air flight out of Fort Wayne. Easy trip to
It's
go
like
down.
having a charter.
No, and we got we have the timeshare again. The Disney timeshare booked again that will be auctioning at Casino Night November 2nd to go join us. So this is actually the same site, same facility that we played in several years in 22 when we went down and played in the CBI.
CBI.
And so phenomenal facility, the Ocean Center. It's right across the street from the beach. But what's even better is the hotel is
It's
on the
right
beach.
across the street from the hotel as well. So yeah, it's perfect.
And then the ocean deck is right on the corner. That's where Tracy and I, back in our younger days, used to sing karaoke on weekends when we'd head to the beach from Stetson.
Now the big question: do they still have the side on the beach? Remember, I committed that I would go, but then it was too far of a walk because I was just coming back from COVID. Do you remember that? I committed to Coach Sims that I would take that slingshot and shoot in the air.
I don't know.
We'll talk about it. All right. So the Sunshine Slam, November 25th, 26th, down in Daytona Beach, Drexel, Radford, Chicago State, the three teams. Dons will play one of them on the 25th and then come back and play on the 26th. And then the final game of November, I want to get it wrapped up here with November, is a familiar opponent from last year, a newer program in Texas A&M Commerce. They were on a grueling road trip last year to start the season. Caught them at the Coliseum, maybe at the right time. It was a 22-point win for the Mastodons. But this is the return trip. Got to head down and take them on down in Texas.
And they've had a really good history of winning, transitioning from Division II. Last year, Coach Rosenberg, Von Rosenberg had a family situation, which we were keeping his family in the prayers, where his wife had some health issues while he was on that trip. He's become a friend as we've gone through this scheduling thing. And so this will be our third year in a row. They played in our tournament here in the Indiana Classic 2 years ago, and then played them at home again last year, and we're going down the road. It'll be another trip to warm weather. Heading to Texas, and they have a number of newcomers this year. It's going to be a huge challenge.
Playing the anti-Summit League schedule to getting into all the warm territories, because we've spent plenty of time in very, very cold temperatures. Texas A&M Commerce on the road November 30th. So once again, the recap of what's happening in November. Dons at home to open the season. They'll take on Bluffton, and that'll be at the Gates Center. Then they hit the road down to Orlando to take on Central Florida November 8th. It's two home games the following week, Bethune-Cookman November 12th and Southern Indiana on November 16th, before a road trip to State College and the Penn State Nittany Lions on November 20th. The Sunshine Slam continues down in Daytona Beach with games on the 25th and 26th, and then a trip to Texas A&M Commerce on November 30th. We will talk more. There's a handful of other games that will be played in December, including one that's got plenty of intrigue, and we'll talk about those when we come back. It's a Sports Rush on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. And now we're 25 minutes behind.
I'm gonna triple up and then just bring us into the 5 hour.
Okay,
I do have a recruiting Zoom at
I know. That's why we got to keep
6 o'clock.
it tight.
We can have Jalen finish.
Huh?
We can have Jalen finish.
He's only going to be.
Or Uncle Jim. Uncle Jim knows as much as me.
I'll talk about Mike Rose. I know him very well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My son went to Roanoke College, and I was a sports photographer. And so I got to know him and his wife.
Really?
Yeah.
Because he was the head coach of
So
Randolph.
you actually know a really good college coach.
He's my uncle, of course. I don't think we brought it up enough. How many? Let's see how many times we could say within the last 20 minutes that Rump does not have a mattress.
So make sure it's charging. Yeah, we're good.
It's not that big a deal.
It's not a grown-up.
There's other people that have air mattresses.
Yeah, for like when you travel somewhere else.
Yeah, for
Do you have to occasionally put some air back in?
I have one room. Okay, it's got a couch, it's got a TV, it's got an air mattress. It's the only furniture I got. That's it.
I had a bed when I had a studio.
Huh?
I had a bed when I had a studio.
You could have one of those. What are those things called?
A futon?
No, you could have a futon. But yeah,
Oh,
well, that's in a
that's
couch. But like, what are they? They go up to the wall. They are
Yeah.
not a trundle bed. That would be underneath the bed if you had a bed. You can't have a trundle or underneath your mattress.
It's like a historical thing.
Tracy texted
What do you mean by that?
She texted me the same thing. Actually.
Oh, a Murphy
Coach is
bed.
such and such.
Murphy bed.
There you go.
Tracy texted me. Coach is such and such.
I've heard of those.
Your wife texted.
Oh, because I. She says I don't give her enough. I don't throw a bone to her enough. Come on.
Oh, so she's calling you a suck. She's not telling us to suck up. I thought we were
No.
I thought we were being weak. I thought we needed to up our game. All right.
Right now, on My Deal 3 Lane, Cycle House is offering first-time customers a deal of 5 classes for you.
Hey, you want to turn a couple degrees down on that?
Yeah, I got you.
Normally a $2 value. Fort Wayne Cycle House is a local group fitness studio located on Lima Road and offers indoor cycling. Body tone and
You don't want to go Jalen? We're
You
going.
can go wherever you guys want to put it.
Yeah. I mean,
You're talking.
yeah, we don't. Yeah, well, you're gonna get on there. They got me on a little bit here, but no, we don't.
Still want Brandon.
I mean,
He gets enough airtime.
it'll be another joke. So we'll pump through this so that we can get to you, give a little bit more feedback on it.
You guys need water or anything?
Do you remember the good old days as
Uh,
a kid? You were sitting home, eagerly
No,
poring
no,
over packs
I'm good.
of trading cards, the anticipation
You
pills.
still order from Mozzarelli's or no?
We got a few options now.
Yeah, you got that one that's right over by the Kroger up there.
What's that
That
called?
Greeks? Is it Greeks?
Yeah, great reach, and that's yes. But there's also
Well, not much has changed. Card collecting and
That's all the
trading
ones
is
I
just
know.
I don't know. Tracy does all that
Oh,
stuff.
sure.
I mean,
trading cards at Midwest
Good
Box
options.
Rates.
She also started making some on the grill.
Okay.
So we'll go to that sometime too.
So, how many Big Ten opponents have you played?
Trust Midwest Box Rates as your guide to the card
Northwestern.
collecting universe. They take card collecting
My freshman year.
seriously, and it
Who did we play last
establishes the best reputations
I don't think
in
we
the
played
industry.
We
And
played
Midwest
DePaul,
Box
that was
Rates
it.
stays right
No.
here in Fort
Big
Wayne.
East.
Midwest Box Rates.
played
where the
DePaul.
thrill of the game
No.
meets the excitement
The Paul was part of
Big
the.
Ten opponents. We played
Oh,
ACC.
We
Yeah.
didn't play a Big Ten. I don't
We
think.
had San Francisco was
We had
our
Arizona with San Francisco. We had Pitt. We had DePaul. I think that was the only.
DePaul's Big East, which
Yep.
is what UCF is now Big East.
I thought they were Big 12.
Oh, are they Big 12?
They were last year. They were Big 12.
DePaul was Big East.
UCF is Big
No,
12.
UCF,
East is Big 12.
Big 12. Yeah, because they play like Kansas and
Yeah.
Texas A&M. Or well, no, Texas A&M's SEC.
Yeah, it's SEC.
We went to their opener, their stadium. They played Texas there when Tracy's second year. Bill Prentice.
Oh wow! Same stadium they got now. Yeah, that's that hosts the Capital One Bowl. Which bowl do they play
That's,
there?
you're talking about that's
Citrus.
the Bowl. Citrus Bowl. They play on campus.
No, well, I'm saying they host a bowl game every year.
I don't think so. I think that's in Citrus Bowl right down the street.
So where?
I think they got a bowl right down the street. In the Citrus
They got
Bowl.
another stadium? I thought they
Well,
only
that's
had
an
one
old-
stadium.
That's the place they used to play. There's another stadium in Orlando.
They play
Camping-
like
it's
a,
the Camping
like a
World
60,
stadium,
65,000 seat stadium.
They have the Camping World Bowl down there in
Is that what
Orlando.
it is?
I don't think it's out there. Stadium.
I think it is.
You know.
60, so like 60, 65,000 seats. Like
Oh.
double deck for
Yeah,
each
they-
sideline.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. It's like single deck all the way around and then a double deck on each sideline, I think. Second level. You're so you've never seen this football stadium at Penn State.
No.
That thing's a monster. You see it from like 6 miles away because it's not buried in the ground much, if at all. And they kept adding levels to add seats. And so I think it's either 3 or 4 levels on the one end, and then there's like 3 on the other. But it's a monster because of the way they had to keep expanding it because they wanted to add more and more seats as everybody else added seats. So they hold over 100,000 in that football stadium. And it's kind of across the parking lot from the Bryce Jordan Center, or whatever they call it.
If you're interested, just go to indianavoters.com.
I was there, I had to do some work there 20 years ago, and they had a baseball game going on. We stopped and watched. That was before baseball had like a full stadium. It was more just bleachers and stuff, so it was like free and easy to just sit and watch a game for a little while.
I tell you, we just thank God answered our prayers. But my brother wouldn't be alive.
Nick Myers
without
is
that
listening.
transplant. That's why I signed up to be an organ donor at the BNB.
One of our trolls. I have a success rate. I'm 100% successful in if I can get turning a troll into a season's ticket holder.
Live from the Hoopy Insurance Services Studios, WKJG Fort Wayne. The Fan.
I can promote the YouTube now because I'm not on the camera.